Welcome to this week's episode of The Nero Show. In today's episode,
GCN is rumoured to be up for sale. How could this end for all of us cycling enthusiasts?
the Chinese GROUPSET wave is fake news. What is really going on?
Bunch of new tech released. McGeen Power Meters, the new Wahoo Kicker and the Wahoo Kicker bike. What do we think?
And why is everyone getting off the Aero bike bandwagon? All right, let's get into it. Biggest player in the platform, GCN. Big news. Big news this week. Jesse, fill us in. What's going on here?
Yeah, so this one popped up on a Escape Collective article by Kaylee Frett. So Play Sports Network, who own GCN, is apparently getting some offers made to be purchased. So Play Sports Network is currently owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're seeking a suitable buyer, according to the article. Why is this big news? Well, it was big news on social media because everyone is a bit up in arms because Outside is one of the people rumoured to be looking at making a bid on the company. And obviously we have seen what Outside have done to some other media companies when they've acquired them, basically gutting them. And yeah, a lot of people are scared that the GCN YouTube channel or the GCN Plus app, all of their GCN branded things are potentially going down the toilet if Outside purchase Play Sports Network.
So this is the YouTube channel. This is the app itself, the premium app. I assume, does that also include all the rights then to the races?
Yeah, well, so we don't know. We don't. The article doesn't give specifics on what's for sale and what's not. But Play Sports Network, the whole parent company, yes, is the YouTube channel, is the GCN app with the GCN original films. It is also the race streaming part of the app and all the rights associated with that. It's a big purchase. I mean, in 2021, the company Play Sports Network was valued at £70 million. So it's a big company. I guess my take on it, though, I just see it a bit differently because the overwhelming response on social media was, oh, screw Outside. They're going to come and purchase this and gut it and bugger them. And it's the same thing, the same take I had when we saw what happened with Cycling Tips is, let me walk backwards. In 2021, Play Sports Network founder Simon Ware sold the company to Discovery. So he's made his cash and cash, big money. When the company's valued at $70 million and over a series of years, you get bought out as the founder, you make big money. So he's made his money. As a part of that, clearly you've lost control. You then no longer have control of what happens to that company. So then it's a bit rich. Like, he hasn't said anything, but it's a bit contradictory 2 years later to start be complaining that, oh, so-and-so could buy the company and they're going to gut it. Well, you've sold it. That you have no longer have control.
But there's no one inside here. This isn't the same situation in the sense that GCN aren't all of a sudden complaining that this potential buyout of Outside is going to be a gutting thing for them.
Yes, it may not be.
Okay.
I would say, though, if we look at some of the numbers here, I mean, Play Sports Network has been making a loss for years. It doesn't make money. So for the last 2 years, the article says it hasn't made money, particularly because of the production of the GCN Plus app. That is very expensive to produce. So their losses that they've run since 2021 have been in the millions of pounds loss. So if they do get acquired by Outside, I wouldn't be surprised if they then go, well, we only want you for your streaming rights you have to... Okay, what's actually profitable from the... Like, let's just assume... or have a guess. What's profitable from this? The YouTube channel is definitely profitable. And the rights...
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Not sure?
I don't know what their production costs are. There seems to be a lot of staff for YouTube videos that, okay, yes, they're probably bringing in money, advertising money directly from any product they bring on there. Then you can obviously throw in on top of that the AdSense revenue. To just say it's definitely profitable, I'm going to sit on the fence there.
Okay.
Let's say, okay, a little.
I consider that. I just assume because it's a YouTube channel, you get some ad revenue. You get your sponsorships, and it should make money. I might not. Yeah, could maybe it doesn't. It's a private company, so we don't have the breakdown of all the different things that do make money. And you would, okay, what else is what else is valuable in that company? I would say the rights to stream all the
100%.
races is valuable.
100%.
The app itself, I mean, you can pay a company in India to produce the app. It's not that big of a lift. So potentially, outside come along, buy GCN. They keep the YouTube channel running, fire half the stuff that they might consider they don't need in the YouTube channel side of it, and then they just steal the rights to all the races and put it on their own platform for exorbitant amount of money. I mean, but that's their prerogative. It's like you can't get angry at a snake for using its fangs. You know that's going to happen. So Simon Ware, the guy that's founded the company, made his money. You relinquish control to get the cash, and it's sad. It would be sad if it happened, but I don't know. Can't complain too much.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot. I think there's a bit to unpack here because, like, I brought this up a couple of months ago. I don't know, a few weeks ago, where I made that sort of thing saying, "Is GCN Plus too cheap?"
Yep.
All right.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I copped a lot of shit for that.
You did.
All right.
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy saying that? But the reality is, if you just look at what the revenue model is for this corporation, and I'm sorry, it is a corporation, that there was never going to be enough revenue coming in for what was being produced, because your costs are, like you said, you have all that. Sorry, I'm getting squeaky. I'll go down again. You have all the known costs, which are to buy the rights to a lot of these races. We know those costs are going to be big. We have production costs for all the YouTube stuff, the weekly YouTube stuff, the stuff that we see on their main channel. You then have, obviously, the upkeep of that. You have the advertising type stuff. You'd have to have relationships with that, so you're going to have staff across those places as well. And you're also going to have, and they reference this a little bit in here, these GCN Plus films. Now, like, to me, the GCN Plus film stuff, it's like the cherry. If something's doing really well, you produce that kind of thing. That's a little additional extra that you get. But there's production going into that, and having a little sniff around, I'm sure, what some of those production costs are. They're not cheap. They're not just sending a couple of YouTubers out and with a GoPro. There's a lot going into that. So to break down all those costs and then go, right, where's our revenue? That's why I initially said, is GCN Plus too cheap? Because I'm afraid of this as well. Like, when it all boils down to it, I am afraid there is a danger, I think, definitely with outside coming in. And that's me just looking at it as a pure consumer who wants the best product. I worry about that.
But you were right when you said the GCN subscription is too cheap. It's too cheap because it's run a loss for the last few years.
Yes.
So you were right when you said that. You were right. It doesn't make money.
I don't like being right about that. But yeah, I mean,
the problem is, though, that the production of that app and everything that's gone along with it was only possible with the funding from Discovery, Warner Brothers, from that money coming in that allowed them to run a loss for 3 years or 4 years to produce the app. So I don't know where to sit with it, because without that funding, we wouldn't have GCN Plus, because it's too expensive to do. But in selling the business, you've also lost control. So would there have been a way to have Simon Ware remain as the owner of the business to remain control and just have that come in as funding, as an investment, without selling the company as a whole? That would have been the ideal situation. So you still get the app and then you still remain in control of the company. That would have been better to see. And it's what we're in now, which is it's all up in the air. But again, it's not a hostile takeover.
No.
You sold the business. They're selling it on because they want to get their money back. And it's kind of shit for everyone except the people that are making the money.
Yeah. I mean, we're not the only sport that's going to be going through this now. I mean, there's this whole shift at the moment where even in big American sports like NFL and basketball are all looking at this, where streaming services are coming in and taking over. I know YouTube TV is a big player in the NFL space now. That's actually where YouTube is where you view some of the big NFL games. So this is the move that's happening. Potentially, if this could be where one of those big players come along and say, well, this is kind of cheap. We get a sport that's kind of cheap. A lot of sort of big sort of conglomerates might get involved in that. But yeah, ultimately there's change afoot.
You'd have to think this is not. It's just in the back, isn't it? Because outside just stump up 100 million or whatever it is, and
Let's say
brutal.
Let's say the YouTube channel dies. I mean,
do you reckon it would potentially, they might kill off the YouTube channel and stick it in the app?
Yeah, well,
and make you pay for it.
I mean, you'd have to look at what's making money here. What is the most profitable part of GCN? I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine the easiest way to make profit on this product would be to use your race rights and stream it out on an app, get some guy in the Philippines to look after it, and you're away. And not do light bike versus heavy bike outdoors every 3 weeks. So, is actually the death of the YouTube channel a good thing for the racing side of it? I don't know. It probably wouldn't be a good thing for the sport.
It's kind of like sacrificing a limb. It's like which arm if they do get purchased, because they are running a loss, they're going to have to get their money back somewhere. It's like which arm's going to get cut off to save the rest of the body. We're only going to see, and we don't know what the money making parts are.
Are you still a GCN Plus subscriber?
No.
Interesting.
No, not for any specific reason. I just found I wasn't using the app to watch races that often.
Okay.
I just petered off. And now maybe early next year when the classics come back, I will get back into it. But for me right now, I'm quite happy just to do the 6-minute highlights. Tour de France is free to wear in Australia. I'm good. It actually was the card I had on my Apple account was expired, and then it was emailed me. I was like, actually,
so you did make a conscious decision. It did lapse. It was coming up to, you're getting the emails, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah, I'm not putting a fresh card in for the GCN app. I don't really need it, and I haven't really found I've been opening the app that much to watch the races. So yeah, and I don't watch the GCN Plus. The film thing doesn't do it for me. I never really watched the breakaway coverage that's on before the Grand Tours and some of the classics. That wasn't really adding much for me. So yeah, let it go.
Interesting. I wonder if Lantern Rouge Media might put a bid in. That'd be hilarious.
Oh,
yeah. There you go. Why not?
Oh, come on.
Let's see him. Come on, boys.
Get some cash in and take it over.
Some capital.
Take over the world. Yeah.
Yes. All right. No, guys, interested in your thoughts on this. So do put your comments below. Just in general about this whole conversation outside. Are they evil?
Well, so the funny thing is, one of the people that the Escape Collective article mentioned as potentially buying it back was the original founder.
Oh, good. Yep, getting back.
So he's kind of going, actually, I don't want to see it all go down the gurgler. And he might come in and buy it back. I mean, he must be cashed up if he's going to buy the whole thing back. But that would be an interesting turn, wouldn't it? Sells it, buys it back 3 years later.
Well, I don't know. I know ESPN, Disney are kind of going through this sort of transition phase. They're losing sports here and there. Maybe that'd be perfect world for me. They jump in. Yeah. Can we talk Chinese group sets,
Oh,
Jesse?
new topic. We haven't talked about this before.
This is such a YouTube meme, isn't it?
Yeah.
YouTube talking about Chinese group sets. And that's almost, I think that's actually almost my point here.
Okay.
All right. So where are you with these right now?
Oh, I'm totally off them now. I think I mentioned a few episodes ago that to buy an electronic good, I would want a local distributor. And Trace Fellow uploaded a video yesterday and his front derailleur on his ERX group set's dead. And it's good. What are you going to do? You bought it on AliExpress. Are you going to ship it back? I mean, it's the nail in the coffin so far. Well, not even the nail in the coffin. It was never really came out of the coffin. It's just, for me, that is holding it down, yes.
So Chinese group sets are fake news. I still can't get over this thing that Alex said, but Peak Talk said, where he was in his, what was it, Hall 9, meeting with
Hall 9 and 3/4.
And which is the favourite moment of the podcast, my kids' moment so far. So he's in Hall 9 and he's saying, when are you going to launch the product? And they're like, no, we're not launching it. We're not launching version 1 yet or version 2. We're just going to keep making these constant changes to it as it goes along. And so at no point are we going to be able to see that kind of launch of the product, and then it all kind of gets pressed in behind us. So there's that sort of stuff. Then Grant put up that video a couple of weeks ago where he's got his L2 group set, and there was a few issues with it, so they send him out another one. But lo and behold, it's basically different. So there's no consistency to anything that's coming out. So, and then finally, I have this really frustrating, because I kind of loosely considered the concept of it. I was like, I'm on YouTube. That's what YouTube people do, isn't it? They get a frame and they build it up with the Chinese group set and all the rest of it. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Go to Keish, go to Edwin and be like, good luck? Probably not. So what's my next option? My next option is to basically sit down and watch a Trace Velo video on how to build these things. He has become the de facto like user manual or installation manual essentially for these products. And I just think we're now in a place where they're going to continue to just tread water. We're going to get these little drip fed product changes, and then if you buy it 6 months later, it'll be a different product again, and it will peter out because people will get on YouTube. People will get sick of seeing it. I'm sorry, like the price point will remain great, but you're gonna be fed up with the same narrative over and over again.
Yeah, but just don't buy you could just not buy the electronic version. Buy a mechanical version.
Yep.
That's still a good way to go. Less risk.
But okay,
they'll get it. I mean, FE Sports already import a bunch of Chinese products. They've got the Magene power meter. So what if FE Sports started selling L2 ERX? Would you buy it?
Yeah, if a local distributor came across it, but that's totally different. I've got a Sugi Eye power meter on there. It's totally different to have a one-off product that, you know, you can see the version number when you log into it. It's one product. It's not trying to talk to any other products, any other accessories. I'm 100% on board with that. The cranks, the pedals, all that kind of stuff, the handlebars. When it comes to a group set, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I feel like there's not enough, what's the word? Like there isn't enough direction coming from China to sort of say, look, this is how they want it presented in the West.
I don't think it's there yet anyway. I mean, the Chinese Di2 electric group sets are a spectator sport still anyway. You're kind of watching it as a YouTube viewer for entertainment, really, at the moment. I haven't seen any of them in person yet. So that'll keep bubbling away. And it's just, I mean, the Trace Velo video is a step backwards. You buy it and the front derailleur stops working. It's like,
but that's the other thing. It's like he's your, like whatever his fix will be, that will be like, that's the fix. Do you know what I mean? Like he has become the kind of lighthouse for this whole product.
You're right. It is fake. I agree. It is kind of fake news because no one's buying them. No one's buying them. You need your head seen to if you do buy it because the thing's not reliable. The electronic version, that is. The mechanical version, go for it. So I mean, yeah, I definitely think you're fair. You're fair on that. I hope that L2 get their shit sorted because, as I said, the other Chinese manufacturers are getting it right. So the Magene power meter. Shane Miller did a review on one a couple of days ago. Exactly what you want. So you buy it from FE Sports, very competitively priced. It's 24 millimeter spindle for Shimano. So take off your cranks, you put your chain rings on, and you put it back in. Good to go. It's accurate. He's tested it. It's all good. So that's a game changer, that Magene. I'm not sure the model number, but that was really cool to see. So if they can go that route, that's good. And Shane Miller, again, his channel's sparked back up again because we've got new Wahoo indoor products. So we've got a new kicker and a new kicker bike. So the new kicker, it's kind of gimmicky. I think it's gimmicky. It's a kicker on a semi-rocker plate. Ooh. So it's got back and forwards motion and a little bit more side to side motion. And that's the new kicker. The actual internals of the unit are pretty much the same as the other kicker. And that's where we're at now. I feel really a little sorry for Wahoo because the kicker has pretty much been perfect for the last 2 years. The last release where it didn't need to do the spin down calibration to be accurate was basically it's perfect. The erg mode works perfectly. The road feel is best in class. The accuracy is best in class without calibration. The thing was just you can't make a trainer better than that. No. There's only so much a trainer can do. And unfortunately, if they don't... Sorry, one sec. And unfortunately, if they don't come and try these things, they're just giving all the other trainer manufacturers years and years to catch up. So now they have to come out and put the thing on a slidey rocker plate. It's like, what? Because there's nothing else they can do. And it's kind of gimmicky, but what else? Yeah. What else can you do to try and stay ahead? Otherwise, give it 2 or 3 years and everyone else catches up. It's kind of brutal. New kicker bike too, which is cool. $1,000 off the price, which is a big drop.
It is cool. I'm just looking at it now. It kind of looks like something that you wouldn't mind having. You could probably get away with that, like in like an open plan living environment. Like it could be in the living room almost. Yeah. Like it could almost be in the TV room and not be. It's not as slop as your kind of bike sitting there with a towel
the legs
over it
for the big trainer and
I don't know. I think there's potential around that being getting some space in the living room.
It's not that expensive. So the new kicker bike shift is 4,000 Aussie.
Mm-hmm. Does it move around as well? Does it do all the flapping about?
So so this is the lowest spec version. So it doesn't do the simulated gradient.
Okay.
And it's a different motor unit in the back.
All right.
But Shane Miller tested it. It's accurate. It's fine.
Of course it is.
It's good. Yeah. It's Wahoo. That's what you expect.
Yeah. So it's the quick kicker move. Is that what it's?
The shift.
Okay.
The Wahoo kicker bike shift is what it's called.
Holy shit. Look at it moving around. Okay.
Oh, that's the new kicker is like that. Yes. Yeah. It moves around. If you're going to spend, because the actual kicker costs $1,700, $4,000, that you get the entire bike. You don't have to slop with your bike on and off. It looks cooler. It looks neater. I could definitely get around that.
I know a lot of people who would go that route. Yes, they are mostly accountants, but they are a constant. There's a constant issue in their household when the bike comes out and it clamps down onto the thing, and the kids are there, and it's just all not a. There's warfare over it basically. But I could see this getting a bit of. Yeah. And it's a little more achievable as well because this could potentially be used across the family or across the multiple members in the household.
Yeah, it's just a quick release on the seat height. You've got because then you've got your buttons on the things, on the things. Your buttons on the shifters too, so you control Zwift when they bring that integration in. It's good. And if you're sweating all over it, doesn't matter. You're not like wearing out your headset. I think 4K for the kicker bike, the new kicker bike shift, is good. Is really really good. Kudos to Wahoo. The rocker thing though, I'm not. What are you like? You just like talk about pig rooting. It doesn't move. That's not a natural movement anyway. But I mean, they've got to try something. I think indoor cycling is dying a very swift death though.
I feel we'll get some pushback.
No, I'm not saying this just to be controversial. I've seen it. I see it. So, okay, here we go. Let me try and explain myself. even pre-COVID, indoor training was pumping. Everyone was on Zwift. And then as well, COVID made that worse. So if you were a new rider getting into road cycling from 2018 to 2022, you would buy a trainer. That was just a given. I'm getting into road cycling. I get the road bike, get my cleats. I better get a trainer. That was just a given. I don't see it anymore. The last year, the people that have their trainers use them during winter, they're still there. But the new rider coming in, I don't think is instantly going, I need to go get a trainer. It's an afterthought. If they need to, if I have to, I'll do it. I think I've seen it. I've seen it just go downhill. It doesn't have the froth that it did 4 years ago.
I'd love to see the subscription numbers on Zwift and my whoosh, whether that is sort of playing out.
The social aspect hasn't gone anywhere. That's probably the other thing as well. For someone getting into cycling, the social side is everything. And the Zwift had the novelty to it 4 or 5 years ago. You kind of do the group rides or group workouts, but it hasn't gone anywhere since then. So I don't feel like someone getting into cycling is getting that sense of community from Zwift anymore. And now they're getting more inclined just to go back out on the road.
Be interesting though, because wasn't the big boom in it was that it was the first thing that was like their first experience of road cycling was the indoor, and then we were able to take them outdoor. Whereas now you're kind of saying that the people coming into it, their first experience is actually riding outside, and they're just
as it was, as it was probably 7 years ago. Then it flipped, and I just think it's flipping back, and it's probably not first thing, at least in Australia. You're getting into road cycling, you're not straight off to 99 Bikes to grab a kicker. You just, if I need to, I might get one. But yeah, there was a point there with like every person that would inquire about coaching, I don't have a trainer, is that okay? Because it was just what everyone did. It's just what you did, and I've seen that die down.
The new Specialized, Jesse.
Okay.
The Specialized ROUBAIX SL8. Yeah. Look,
have you dug into it? All I've seen is 4 photos of Peter Sagan riding it. I haven't done any research on it.
I watched Dave's video.
Okay.
Can you bring up the video there? Because I'd be interested in your thoughts. Just if you just have a look at that frame.
You're leading me somewhere. Does it? Well, you reckon it looks like a chapter 2?
Look at that. Look at that. Apart from the rear wheel cutout.
I mean, every bike looks like a chapter 2.
It's just more the seat post thing. I've always kind of liked the ROUBAIX. I think it's a really good bike. In fact, it's a bike for.
It's a gravel bike. Now, okay, the ROUBAIX that I knew, the bobbin head weekend warrior would buy one because they wanted an endurance bike for a club run. This thing is mountain bike. It's not, I don't see, is the endurance cyclist buying the ROUBAIX anymore? Or is the ROUBAIX now, is it a Kansas?
Yeah.
Is it the Specialized Kansas SL8?
It's an off-road bike.
Not a ROUBAIX. Yeah. What's this? But then wouldn't you just buy the gravel bike?
Yes.
Why would you buy this over a Diverge?
Can't answer that.
Because it's got the front end suspension.
Yeah, it's a weird place in the market, isn't it?
Tire clearance is probably...
Well, the tire clearance on this thing's friggin' massive. It's like 40 mil. But then the SL8, the road version of the SL8 is, I think, 32 mil or something. So a model of bike that it just seems to have, it's run its course.
It has. It has.
I don't know.
The gravel bikes have gotten too good.
The ROUBAIX was invented to ride Paris-Roubaix. Like, they're not riding this bike at Roubaix.
Ride that at Roubaix.
No, I mean, but that's what it was there for.
Now they're riding that.
Yeah.
Well, not that. A similar looking version of the Nero bike.
Yep.
Yes. You've been lurking around the local bike shop just to get... They're going to kick you out. They go, I know what you're here for. You just want good bubble chat gossip. But what did you get? You got to fill me in because I'm a boring bastard. I got nothing. You're going to have to.
I'm lurking.
Ear to the ground.
I've been doing some lurking around the workshops of Sydney. All right. No. All right. So rewind 6 months. We're on this show, and we're talking about self-propelling bikes. Yep. Now, what was the self-propelling bike?
It was the S5. You had to ride the brakes because the guy was riding too fast.
So this whole chat. Now, I need to really stress. Like
that's a quote. That was a quote I heard on a club ride. We're not making that up. Right. Okay.
Okay. So this whole chat, and this is really important, is I think completely removed from like the world tour sort of frothy chat. I that exists, but this is totally separate. This is your local influencer, right? You all know them. They're in the bunch, and they're that guy who says he's on an S5, mate. It's a fucking self-propelling machine.
Such a fast bike.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where that's where the cervelo is in my head, right? So come back, Sydney, lurking around the workshops. Now, cervelo's slow bike. Hang on. Not that long ago, I was being told a very different thing.
Yep.
And the new fast bikes,
yep.
the speed sniffer.
Yeah.
Speed sniffers.
Sniffer's fast.
Fast.
Yep.
And the propel. The propel's fast. Now, we might have caused some of this, I don't know, but the propel is now starting. No one's riding it.
Hold on. We don't have any influence in this.
Okay, good.
This scene, this is like.
That's true.
This is a bruiser on itself. It doesn't matter what we say. This is a whole nother beast, but yes.
That's sorry. Well said. Now, the propel has moved into the space of fast bike. Fast bike.
Propel,
now,
okay.
no one's ridden it yet, which I find interesting.
No.
But because, okay, so this is I think where I wanted to take this because, I mean, Sydney riding, it's a bit like the Bay Area type thing. It sounded like it's kind of fashion almost. Like there is a lot of that. So let's take all that with a grain of salt. But the thing that I'm now hearing is that the S5's too heavy.
It's a dog of a bike. It's a dog of a. That was the quote, wasn't it?
Yep, dog of a bike.
Dog of a bike.
And the Propel S-Works are they're lighter. They're so much lighter. It's going to be faster.
Yeah.
Okay? It's going to be faster.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
So this, I will point out, these are conversations I'm having with people who are just beaten. They're on S5s. They're still on their S5. Who had just beaten me in the race. So their own performance, they'd won the race, their own performance they're not actually putting that together by any stretch of the imagination, okay? But where I think this has gone is for the last 6 months, we've been told that these lighter do-it-all bikes are better. We've been told that, right? So Specialized have made a big, and not just harp on about them, but they're the biggest and loudest. And they've constantly now told us that the SL8 is super fast. We don't need a Venge anymore. And I actually do think that has started to infiltrate this bubble. And they now believe that this supposed heavy, fast aero bike that had them winning all these races isn't actually that fast anymore. And the grass is definitely greener. And it's one bike.
But so where is it? Because I heard it's in the bottom bracket. It's actually the bottom bracket. So it's just the bottom bracket's too big, is what I've been hearing.
Yes. There's too much carbon in the bottom bracket, and the speed of the bike it's a lighter, nimbler bike because it's got less carbon in that area.
So Propel, but it just changes kind of with the way the wind's blowing, kind of spreads like a wildfire, just takes over.
So my take on this,
yeah,
they're going to have buyer's regret. All right? I'm calling it buyer's regret. As much as I do think something like the Propel is going to be a lovely bike, got no issue with that. I think if you're coming from an out and out fast aero bike like that you are going, and this is again in our environment, I think you're going to have buyer's regret. I think you're gonna miss that straight line speed. I mean, this is coming from two people who have not ridden the bike.
Well, at the end of the day, it's still a giant. That's your problem. So it's flavor of the month, but then 6 months later, you look down and it's a giant, and you're going, "Fuck! I was on a Cervelo," and that'll change. That's going to swing real quick. So what's next? What's after can we make some predictions?
Well, not really, because this is the whole joke of it. Is that to me the industry leads this. Right?
Okay.
And my other sort of cynical take on this. Can I go down this route? Is that all right?
Yeah. I got another. Yeah, keep going.
My other cynical take on this is it's pretty simple. That the reason the aero bike are being phased out supposedly, and they're not fast anymore, is because turns out it's actually really expensive to make them. It's expensive to not only just make them, but make lots of different models. So to have an Ultimate and an Aeroed and what's the other one? Endurace is bloody expensive to have 3 different molds. It's expensive to have an S5, an R5, and the Soloist. That's annoying. Why not convince everyone your Propel or your SL8 does it all, and you get one mold, you can just churn them out, and away we go.
Definitely works. But the other thing that you were reading the article about the SL8 the other week, speaking with one of the product designers there, and he was saying the back end of the bike doesn't matter aerodynamically. So that's the new thing. Your bottom brackets are too big, your seat tubes are too thick, and aerodynamics don't exist at the back of the bike anymore. So that's going to be the new wave. We're gonna ride it. We're gonna ride it. And it all comes back to this thing Peak Talk said, where Chris, you can't see aero. So it's the ultimate trump card now. All right. So tell me something about aerodynamics. Anything related to anything that you ride on.
Drop seat stays are faster.
No, they're not. You can't see aero, Chris. That flappy jersey you're wearing, can't see aero. You haven't tested it. How do you know how do you know it's faster? So now you can't say anything as it relates to aerodynamics. You can't say. I've seen this in the comments on the thing I said last week about the System 6 being faster at 60k an hour than the SL7, and someone said, "Oh, you can't see aero." I can't say that anymore. So it's the ultimate.
It's a trump card. It's the prove me wrong.
It's the
prove me wrong.
That skin suit's quick. Oh, well, have you gone in wind tunnel and tested it? Oh, well, you can't see aero. So that's where now, your bike's a bit lighter. Can't argue with that. Can
I mention one other thing?
Yep.
Which came to my attention, which was all the aero claims or the stiffness claims, weight claims, etc., on pretty much every brand when they release a bike is in comparison to the previous model of their own bike. So, for example, the Giant Propel allows you to achieve 40 kilometers an hour, while pushing 6.21 watts, less power than the previous model. So you will always see, basically in the white papers, the previous model. So it's like it's the perfect situation because you're never actually. I mean, that's not, as a consumer, the decision you're making. You're not deciding between the 2022 and the 2023 Propel. You're deciding between the 2023 Propel and the S5. You want to know what that is. And it doesn't really exist. The Scott foil's kind of the same. It's saying 16 watt saving at 40 kilometers an hour in comparison to the previous Scott foil. Trek Madone, 9.3 watts improvements from the previous model. From what I can gather, Cervelo's the only one. Okay, this is where it gets weird. They claim that they have the fastest bike, but they don't. Now, someone can potentially correct me down below, but they don't actually say how much faster. The System 6 did give some numbers to it, but it's all gradient required. But at least from my perspective, they're claiming versus the competition.
I get so bored with it. With what wheels? with who on it. There's just a billion. It's pointless talking about it anymore because people say, well, the Tour magazines tested them. Okay, but now these days they test with stock wheels. They don't test with the wheels that come on the bike. They don't test with the generic. They used to test with 404s between bikes. Now they test with stock wheels. They say, well, the wheels are different. Well, what rider's on it? What you might be more aero for you and less for me. You can't see aero. It's just I'm kind of done with aero. Because even the general things that you would say now, like, I think that bike is faster because the tubes are deeper.
Can't see aero.
You can't see aero.
Can't see
it's like, where are we at? Why are we even bother talking about this anymore?
Yeah.
It's
the reason I sort of brought that up is like I watched the keynote today, and they do the claim of like, you know, this chip is this % faster than the competition. This percent. And it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I've never seen that in a bike announcement. Like the new Cannondale 71 is 6% faster than the SL8. Prove me wrong. Like I don't know whether you get sued for saying that or what, but I don't know. I'd like to see that.
It would be funny, yeah.
I don't know. There needs to be like a generic. So we select one person in the world, and he or her, or but one of each, and they go into the same friggin' wind tunnel, and that's it. It's like the benchmarking test for tech.
What wheels would you use?
Well, no, you get with the package. So whatever your package is the brand has, it's like, you know, the specialized, you get the bars, you get the rope, you get it all. You go in, Jeff sits on the, and he's like, yep, okay, well, geez,
but then one brand will stock 80 mil wheels to cheat the aero
test. At least
test.
you've got a baseline.
Okay.
I've got my baseline. You got Jeff and Tracy's speed test, and that's it. It's done.
But it's never a baseline because it depends what they've spec'd it with.
See, this is what GCN should be doing. This is what GCN should be doing. You should have the same friggin' presenter going into the same wind tunnel on all the different bikes and give us actual data on this stuff. Like, fucking all the crap. Like, that annoyed me so much during the week. That one with Feathered. The light bike. I was so interested in that. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to know. And it's like a 1K climb with traffic on the road. You get a guy who rides out of the saddle the whole way on an aero bike. It's like, this is pointless.
And one of the bikes didn't have a power meter.
I'm like, guys, the pretense, the actual idea is brilliant. The practice is crap. And that would have cost money because hopefully they paid him to do it. Like,
well, we don't know.
Hopefully.
So that's sparked up with Phil Guyman. A little thing on Twitter that sparked up. And this comes back to this whole GCN chat. And we were talking about the GCN Plus films and how that probably costs a lot of money to produce. Well, we don't know because Phil had a little dig at them on Twitter saying that they had approached him and they had agreed to produce this film and he was going to fly to another country. I'm guessing it was for his com hunting series. And he had almost booked the flights, had got the whole thing organized, and then he had sent them basically the invoice of what it was going to cost. And they totally lowballed him with an amount of money that would barely even cover the cost of the flights. So are they even paying this Andrew Feather guy? I don't know. It sounds like, based on what Phil was saying, they're a bit stingy with the cash in terms of the production of a lot of this stuff.
You know, like, did you ever watch Top Gear?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they used to do the lap. So they would get one of the presenters on, they'd do the lap, you know, all that. Well, you can't tell me you couldn't have got Robbie Matthews.
Shout out
Robbie.
Hey, Andy. Hey, Robbie.
Oh, dear. Robbie McEwen. You can't have got Robbie McEwen to do on a 200, just have a set 200-meter sprint zone, and you get him on you get him on the bikes. When they all come out, Robbie whacks it down there, and he could tell us. We get a time, we get a top speed. Robbie, what do you think of that bike? Oh, yeah, that's all right. You know, give me that. Not this other crap. This just, I don't know. Send us.
It's impossible. It's impossible to do with.
You're too much in the black and white. I'm happy to live in the grey. You give me some grey here. That's enough for me. Okay. Give me enough. That's all. That's all I want. It's more relevant than claiming versus the previous iteration of your own bike. I'm like,
that's
what?
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
So I have popped the 30s on here. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, so they're 30, the reserve 37, 34. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know how you talk about this thing?
Looks shit.
It's because it's not Aero. You can't see Aero.
It looks. They probably get more Aero.
What, than a deeper dish wheel?
Well, you can't see Aero, so it could
That's
be.
true.
What do you know? What do we know?
But you talk about this thing like it doesn't. Okay, so I've been doing these hill climb sort of VO2 like 3-minute efforts on what's it called, Bellevue Hill, right? And the last couple of times I've done them, I've done them in the 30s versus the 60s. Guess what? Times pretty much exactly identical, believe it or not, right? Okay. But you said this thing a while ago, and it's like, but what did it feel like? And for the life of me, they felt faster, right?
Yeah.
And it's so true.
It was more fun.
And more fun.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's and you put all the like pretend data aside and you go, which actual experience did you enjoy more? I actually enjoyed that experience more. But they don't look as cool. So here's the thing. It's like I've got this weird balance of like, because I actually would like to ultimately do a actual, here's what I like about the shallow, or here's what I like about the deep dish ones, and actually do something about that. But ultimately it boils down to this. I like the feeling of the shallower, but I like the look of the deeper.
Fair enough. And if you're going and doing the chop, you're not going to want to do it on those.
No. Yeah, but if I want to do a Saturday punchy kind of hilly ride, yeah, I really want to do them on those, especially with wide wheels, with wide tires. Like, so they got a 30 mil rear. That's really nice. It's always the thing. Remember, with like shallow wheels often feel really, especially your carbon clincher ones or carbon spoked ones. They're just really rough and harsh. Yeah. Whereas the nice fatter tire, yeah, really nice.
This hashtag GC Kuss thing at the Vuelta. Is this too negative? Whatever. I'm just going to say it. I feel like people are going to get whatever. This is where I get into trouble because people just go,
that's a good way of saying
it. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's just go. This Vuelta, the chat, the hashtag GC Kuss. Can we give it a rest? Can we absolutely give it a rest? All right. It's just fanboyism at its finest. You are paid handsomely to be a donkey. That is your job. You make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do it. You don't deserve to win the GC.
Oh.
That's not your job.
Oh.
If you want to be the top dog, king shit, go to a different team, probably get paid a bit less, and you can go for GC. I do not feel that Vingegaard or Roglic or the team owe anything to Sepp Kuss. No, or it'd be nice if they let him win, or he's earned it. He hasn't. He's a domestique. They don't owe him shit. He doesn't deserve to win the GC, right? As a GC rider in a season, you have so much more pressure. You've got to train your time trial. You've got to train your skills because you need to make it. You can't lose time. You got to get to 3K to go, and then you can't let gaps open after the 3K to go. You've got the stress and the weight of having the entire team's GC hopes on your shoulders the entire year. The stress within the race. So the whole thing about being a GC rider isn't just rocking up and being able to perform at a race. It's all the stress and pressure that goes along with that. Now, Sepp has decided to join a team where he's not the GC guy. He hasn't had to go through that process and live with that stress. So he doesn't deserve to win the GC. He doesn't have the right to win the GC. No one owes him shit. He's played well to do his job, and he's very good at his job. And that's where I stand on it. It's just total fanboyism. Everyone like, why did they attack him? Let him win. No, he deserves it. No, he doesn't deserve shit. Vingegaard deserves to win the GC. He's the GC rider that's worked for it. And that's where I stand.
Strong comments, which I doubt will get any reaction at all from anyone. I hadn't looked at it like that. That's interesting. Your take is interesting because, okay, so because he's the domestique, that's why we're now following this. That's not why I thought GC Kuss. Just can I just quickly say before we talk about this, GC Kuss that's a Lantern Rouge thing. As far as Maybe
No,
if
I
I'm
think
wrong.
I think you.
So I really
are.
hate the fact that GCN have jumped on board and now it's like GC Kuss is this thing that they've like claimed.
Oh,
I'm like,
even you
no.
saying it does my head in. Just keep going.
Anyway,
Sorry.
look.
Yeah.
So,
but no, I think it is. I agree. I think it is a lantern thing, like a tug buddy.
Yeah,
it's one of their
100%.
things. Yeah.
So let come up with your own crap, GCN. Anyway, so I reckon the reason why he's got that following, I don't think it's the domestique thing. I think it's his personality. He's kind of weird in a sort of cultish way, right? And that's kind of why I root for him, because he is a bit of he does funky, weird stuff. And that's a bit of he's an oddball, really, in the whole scheme of like robots. And I thought that's where the support had come from. The other thing, and I'm 100%, this is complete bias on my perspective, I want him to win because he's American. He's North American. And if that just means all of a sudden 100,000 extra Americans log on to YouTube tomorrow and search cycling and accidentally discover this crap, that's fantastic news for me. So, there's that element to it, and that's kind of good. But I really like, that's so honestly brutal. I love it. I mean, I don't agree with you, but...
You don't agree? Okay,
no.
I'm not against him. So if he changed teams next year and went to Movistar to ride GC and win a Grand Tour, I'd be all for him to win, 100%.
Oh, I see.
Because he's committed to that process. But this isn't under 12 soccer. You aren't owed anything. You are paid to do your job, which you've done well, and your teammates. This idea that because he's worked for the team, and so to pay him back, they need to let him win the GC.
No, I don't agree with that narrative. I totally agree. I want to see him win, but not for that narrative. I mean, I would like to see him. We're recording this on the 13th. Angliru is tomorrow night. I'd love to see the three of them duke it out up that 100%. But I would still be rooting for him because I think he's a cool character. Yeah, that's just me.
I would be rooting for him way less than Vingegaard or Roglic because they've committed their season to win GC. So they deserve it because they've done the prep to achieve that. If he kind of stumbles to the Vuelta and essentially flukes it just based on his climbing ability, I think that's less deserving than the other.
That's it. I appreciate the take. I wonder what the other pros think. I wonder like what the rivals would think. Like whether they would share he hasn't done the graft the pressure, all that kind of stuff.
To me, it's a money thing though. Maybe it's just me, but we act a lot of the time. I go on Twitter and they act as if these people are all just volunteers, just doing it for the love of the sport. And it's so detached from what these people actually do. It's I think it does twist opinions a little bit like that. Yeah. Whoa. These Instagram reels for the show.
I said that last week to you.
Cooked.
Jesus.
Oh, the comments. Where do these? I mean, the YouTube comments are at least semi-respectful and interesting. The Instagram reel comments are they're so bad. So I said that, okay, part of it is because we're cutting out 30 seconds of
clickbait.
A discussion.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
I said cycling's the most dangerous sport. And then people are like, what about the Isle of Man time trial thing?
Oh, right. Okay.
Or what about free soloing? And like, oh my God. Okay, whatever.
I mentioned a little bit about my Aero sock. What are we calling it? Adventures currently going on. So we're having some sort of progress in that regards. But a few people replied to me saying, try this brand, try that brand. And it's interesting because the brands that they tend to sort of pass on to me are brands I've never heard of. So there's one here called, have you had a look at this? Bring it up. It's called Spratswear. Spats.
I've heard of them before.
You have heard of them?
Yeah. Because they're famous for their winter overshoe things that come up to the knee for the guys in the UK. That's what I've seen them for.
So a couple of times I've referenced something like, oh, that brand looks like it's from the UK. And people in the comments have gone, how do you know something looks like... Okay. That brand, that is the perfect example of something that looks like it's come from the UK.
Right.
So yeah, put that. But some of that Aero stuff looked really good, and so their Aero socks have been highly recommended to me. Also, a brand called Fingers Crossed, which don't do like a big range of stuff. They just do sort of accessory type stuff. I've actually ordered a couple of Fingers Crossed Aero socks.
I've bought a pair of Fingers Crossed Aero socks last week.
You serious?
Not Aero socks, the regular socks, sorry.
Yeah, right.
It was one of those, I was doing an order from Cash and I had to get across the free delivery thing. So I was like, a pair of black socks.
There you go.
Slip them in.
So we're on the Fingers Crossed bandwagon. We'll report back very soon with that one. What did you call it last week? The 50-minute club? Might be the hour club this week.
We've extended out.
Extended out. All right. Can we do some navel gazing?
Oh, please.
All right. This is what you do on podcasts. You talk about yourself. First one I kind of found interesting is like, because we talk about this every week, like, oh, what did it look like? You know, what did how did the edit look, and what did it sound like? All that kind of stuff. And like, there's normally like one comment out of the 400 or 500, which will be like, oh, I didn't like this, or
the color grading's
cooked. And it's like the weirdest offset of time, because you spend all this time doing what you think is the important part, but I don't really think anyone cares.
I'd be surprised if anyone watches this.
Yeah.
Because when I watch long form stuff on YouTube, I'm just listening to it. I'm not going to sit there for an hour and just stare at a show.
Which is
be curious.
Kind of my question, because like sometimes we take this on the road, or things are a bit difficult. What is is the audio the most important part? And it's like, where is the threshold then? Because there's been so many where we've had a total shit show where like my mic hasn't worked, and we've had to use like your mic and marry it up, and then done a post-production to kind of get that sort of to work.
No one seems to notice when we do that, by the way.
No one seems to notice.
It's almost every second week where this is absolute amateur hour here. So,
and I'll spend 3 days trying to like merge all these clips to get it to kind of come together, and it goes up and like no one notices. I'm like, is this, could we just be doing this like on our iPhone?
Audio recording.
Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So what else? You got any other navel gazing for me?
You put in here the Girona bubble hates us. What sparked this? Did someone say something?
Someone's always saying something. Have you read our comments recently? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just find that 9 times out of 10, maybe it's just more on the Instagram side, that people are.
If we say Girona bubble, is it just Aussies that know what a Girona bubble is, or is there a US contingent to the Girona bubble? In a UK, there's definitely a UK.
100%. Yeah. Basically, the Girona bubble, from what I understand, is just an English-speaking site, like semi-pro cycling sort of conglomerate in Girona.
So, at the risk of further alienating the Girona bubble, I mean, who is the Girona bubble? I think it's the loose change of the cycling industry that end up there, right? It's the 22 to 30-year-old guy or girl that wasn't really good enough to go pro, but then didn't get an actual job. So they've kind of fallen through the cracks, and then it kind of spits you out in Girona. And probably still train a lot, maybe you race a bit. You're probably in marketing or communications for a sock brand, working online, and that's and I can see why they hate this show. I can see why they hate us.
Well, they'll be very
because
earnest.
it's pretty much
an earnest crowd.
That's because we're kind of the loose change as well. So the loose change doesn't like the other loose change also having an opinion. So I can see why they absolutely hate our guts.
Yep.
But and they go out on Sunday and they do a 3-hour gravel loop and drink sparkling water, watching sunset on George Bennett's balcony, and it's a total vibe. And they absolutely hate us having an opinion, and I can understand why.
I have nothing to add to that. That's exactly, I think, what it is. Yeah.
The thing though with the Girona, and we're talking about people that live there, not the people that go there for a holiday or whatever.
Yep.
But the Girona bubble kind of think they're the center of the cycling universe. Like we're in Girona. Like, who are these two Aussie blokes on a podcast opinionated dickheads think they got the rule of the roost. So I can see how it happens because they're,
they're in there.
It's a small pond and there's some big fish and they
And there's also that thing of like, we're at the other end of the world. Like, how can we know it's impossible for us to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Or worse, that our opinions should matter. Not that I think our opinions should matter, but like they should definitely be, we should be put back down. Definitely. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So fair enough.
All right, JC, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We will see you all next week.
See you then.